What's up, girlfriends? Welcome to Girlfriend Therapy Podcast. You guys know I have been doing our year of conversations, and I have been having an amazing, amazing time. Today marks our 30th episode. Can you guys, like 30th episode? So we are more than halfway done, which is crazy because that means we're almost more than halfway done the year, which is scary. 2022 has flown by. But I am so excited about my guest today, guys. And you may have seen, if you're following me on Facebook on my personal page, you may have seen I did a little unboxing last week or maybe the week before of just this beautiful spirit that I actually met through another beautiful spirit. And I'm so excited to have her. I actually wanted to talk to her about her beautiful wine. I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is Kyle Burke, and I have the beautiful and lovely Miss Kyle Burke here with me today. What's up, Kyle?
Hey, how you doing today?
I am wonderful. I'm so glad that you agreed to just join me this week to kind of talk about just your experience and your venturing into a wine. Now, when I met you, I think we connected over art, and I know you go into Yoshisart is your creative artist name or artist brand, and we can see all your beautiful pieces behind you. So we connected over art, and
We
like I
did.
mentioned, through a beautiful spirit, Miss Camille,
Yeah.
connected through her. And when I seen that you were launching your first wine, I was like, that is so cool. So I couldn't wait to get my hands on it. So I have my lovely glass here, and I will be sipping as we're talking. Cheers
Me
to
too.
you.
Cheers.
Yes.
Thank you.
And so I just want you to share with us like the experience of becoming a winemaker, or what was it, a viniteur?
Vintner. Vintner.
Vintner. I love that term. So just like share with us, like, how did you even get into making wine?
Well, first, thank you again for having me. I'm
Absolutely.
I'm really honored to be here. We did meet through Camille, and we both have that common spirit of being a creative.
Yes.
So we automatically were drawn to each other on that. And then I was so humbled and surprised when I saw you do the unboxing. And I'll be honest, I couldn't remember who you were because we haven't
Oh,
seen each other. Um,
exactly. It's been a
yeah,
while.
face to face in so long.
Yes.
So I was like in awe when I woke up, and I was like looking at my phone as we all do, checking notifications and emails and what have you. And I was like, oh my God. So I was distraught. But
Oh,
yeah. So with the wow, it's been a process. Um I've always been an artist. I've always been an artist since I was a child, kind of just doing my own thing,
right.
very shy, introverted, didn't really have a lot to say to a lot of people. And I found art as my
Mm.
escape. And it soothed me and it made me feel good. And I didn't really look at it as I was talented or anything.
Mm.
I knew my friends would ask me to draw for them whenever they had an assignment. Oh, can you draw this for me, Kyle? You
Oh,
know,
wow.
then in middle school, I remember doing a project, and the teacher saying to me, I'm going to put your piece right here in the front. And I was like, okay, thank you. And then when I looked around, I was like, wow, this is actually pretty good. I did okay with this. So I was drawing a hand. So
Oh,
yeah. So look, looking at that, using my hands, well, we all use our
mm.
hands, but years later, um, I've always taken art as a way of just coming into my space and releasing whatever, anxiety I may have had, or
Yeah,
just, just tapping into that creative side of you. It just feels good and you get lost in it. Uh,
exactly.
and with wine, it was very similar. It, Drinking wine, first of all, learning about, the different varietals. But prior to me even going that far, I just enjoyed wine like
Right.
I would enjoy art. You're sitting with your friends and family, and you're sipping on something, and you're telling stories with each other,
Exactly.
and you're just laughing and just kind of like catching up, those moments of intimacy with the people that you care about or people that you just meet. Wine is always something that's been a staple in my space.
Right.
So just like going to the grocery store, going to the wine store or the spirit or liquor store would be a regular stop for me. And I always wanted to try things that I'd never heard of,
Wow. Like just
So,
different wines, and I guess I'm kind of the opposite. I'm always so nervous about trying new wines because it can be an investment, right? And
yeah.
it's like you don't want to get a bottle of wine and don't like it.
Mhm.
I remember this is a quick little story about wine. Like I think probably hands down the worst wine I ever tasted. I was reading the book, who is it by? Dandelion Wine by
Okay.
Ray Bradbury, I think it is.
Okay.
And so, it was like, and I learned that dandelion wine was an actual wine. And I was like,
Mhm.
I have to try it. So I
Right.
ordered I found I guess a winery that carried it. And it was like all the way in Oregon or somewhere like that. And I
Right.
ordered it and it came in and I think I even did like maybe a video of me opening it and tasting it. And
Right.
it tastes just like flowers. And I was like,
Oh.
this is disgusting. I bought like 2 bottles and it's like, okay. But so I'm always really nervous about trying different wines, but yours is
Right.
delicious if I haven't
Thank you.
mentioned that.
Thank you. Well, I've had some wine that I've made that you would probably have that same reaction. I started out doing home batches here, and that's
Oh,
the fun thing. My husband jokingly said, you should learn how to make it because you love to drink it so much. There's a shortage in Maryland. And even though he said that in a joking way,
right.
I looked at that and something happened within me and something felt good. And, as a school teacher then, I was like, oh my God, he's got something. I think I'm
Right.
going to research this and at least find out if it's doable.
Wow.
So I did. I found out it is doable, and anybody could do it. You could purchase concentrated wine juice, grape juice. I would
Okay.
not suggest going to the grocery store because the juices that they have certain chemicals in it that will interfere with the fermentation process. So,
Ah,
but I would, if you ever wanted to try it, you can go online and find different vineyards that will sell you their leftover pressed juice.
oh,
So
wow.
yeah, and
So did you do that or?
mhm, I
Ah,
did. I found a winery in Pennsylvania, Persique
wow.
Isle, and I ordered different varietals from them. I ordered a Cabernet Sauvignon, I ordered a Chardonnay, and a Malbec. And they send it in the mail. It's very heavy, it's contained. It's
Right.
put in a container to keep it so it doesn't spill or spoil or anything. So it's expensive. It really is
Wow.
expensive. And the equipment involved is expensive, but you can get kits to do this and
Wow.
try it at home, and you can buy the yeast, but there's a lot of research in it.
Yeah, I
And
bet.
yeah,
So you said you had a few failed
oh
batches.
yeah, I've had some failures. I've had what they call stuck fermentation where I had to dump everything. Um, where the fermentation would not get kicked back up. And, I tried different
Ah,
things and I didn't want to risk any type of health hazard. So I
right.
was like, just get rid of that. And one of my mentors recently shared with me how they felt like small batches were a lot more challenging to work with than bulk
Ah,
on a larger scale commercial production because it's so sensitive and there's so
yeah.
many components you have to consider. So, but it's fun if you're not scared and you want to have a little adventure. You have
Right.
time on your hands because it's going to take a little bit of time, some extra funds. It's a fun project. It's fun.
So how
So,
did you go from, I guess, making wine in I'll just say your basement or
mhm,
your lab
yeah,
to, I mean, to actually like your wine is actually like listed on Naked Wines. Like it's a real,
Right,
a whole
right,
brand. So how did you
right.
go from that to this whole brand?
Well, the process started with the me researching and finding out, who's doing this now, who
Right.
can I reach out to, what type of mentoring can I find? Because I think with anything, you need someone who's done it and done it well to kind of
Exactly.
help you with that process. I don't believe in reinventing a goodwill, especially with wine. So I've quickly began, looking at who can I connect with. The first scholarship that I got actually was through the women of the Vine and Spirit and the McBride
Mm.
sisters. So I
Ah,
got that. Yeah, they had a She Can. They do this every year. She Can award a scholarship for professional development. So
wow.
I was able to achieve that, but unfortunately, COVID hit at that time, and
Ah,
everything kind of went virtual and shut down. So I was kind of at a loss in what to do. So I just kept making wine. Um, at actually the summer of 2019, my husband and my family, we went up to Martha's Vineyard, and I took what I made with me up there because I liked it and I felt like other people might enjoy it. So I took
right.
a very small batch. I took about 2 cases, and I actually cleared them out on the inkwell.
Wow.
So that gave me the confidence and the feeling that if I did it here and people enjoyed it, then maybe I could go ahead and pursue this on a larger scale.
So did
And
you have to have like a licensing or anything to do
oh
that?
yeah, I did.
Yeah. Okay.
It was bootleg.
Right.
It was. And that's when I was like, no, I don't want to get in trouble doing
Right.
this. So I took donations. So
Ah,
yeah,
very,
you can do donations, but
very clever.
yeah, yeah. And people were very generous just for the spirit of supporting someone's
Right.
small business. People really took me in. Um, so after that happened and COVID hit, I just went back to the drawing board, and
Right.
I basically looked at what type of scholarships, what else is out there. If I got this
Wow.
scholarship, I can try for another. And I ran across, actually, before I ran into the Roots Fund, it was Tahira Habibi. I saw her site and what she was doing in the wine industry, and that's when I found
Wow.
out she was one of the founding board members or creators of this nonprofit. She's also the creator of the Hughes Society.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, she's a dynamite woman. Her, Akimi DuBose, Carlton McCoy, Jeremy Sesses, I believe. Uh, Forgive me if I mispronounced that. They're the board members of the Roots Fund. So
Wow.
they have been in this field in a professional way as sommeliers and as chefs.
Wow.
So they came together and decided that they wanted to see more people that look like us and create opportunities for the BIPOC community within the wine
Wow.
industry. And they offer scholarships, I think biannually. So that was the case. I was able to apply the very last day that year
Wow.
to get. I was getting a regular certification for WSET level 2. So in that process, I told them about me making wine at home, and someone, probably joked and said, "Hey, we don't want her to uh, bootleg anymore. We want to go ahead and see if she can learn how to do this legitimately and do it on a commercial
Wow.
level." So I was really fortunate. I competed with a few other winemakers that were Roots Fund scholars, and
Wow.
I was selected. So
And I think that's when I first heard about you, making your own wine. It was, I think, during that either selection process or like once you,
Mhm.
I guess, won the scholarship. I
Mhm.
think that's when I first heard. I was, oh, that's pretty cool. And
Right.
then, you kind of kept us posted throughout the months. It felt like it was just months, but it probably was a lot longer than that.
Well, the first scholarship that I got, I probably put that on blast. And then the WSET, I probably shared that, but I wasn't allowed to share the naked until everything was
Oh,
completely done. So
okay.
yeah, I was itching. I wanted to, but I was
Right.
like, nope, I'm not going to do it. So yeah, and that's how that happened. They selected me, and you are able through the Roots Fund to get mentoring,
Okay.
to receive job and career opportunities, education, things that will equip you with the knowledge and the networking that you need in this industry.
Right.
They have phenomenal connections, and people. They are a growing force within this wine industry, and soon to be spirits. I believe. I don't know, but they nominated me. I received it, and then I went on to Naked Wines, and it was like a passing of the baton
Right.
where I received mentorship through Naked Wines as well. And
Wow. So
I have,
what's been one, I guess, the most fascinating things, I guess, that you've learned that you didn't know about, I guess, women specifically, but Black women,
mhm.
probably more specifically, in the wine business? Was there anything that you learned?
Well, we need more of us there.
Yeah.
I do believe, and I know from firsthand that our presence is completely microscopic.
Mm,
Unfortunately, um, I think that is something that you know, if I can do it, I'm going to tell and share so that other people will
right.
feel the same empowerment that I felt. Um, the few people that I've grown to be very bonded with, they're also root scholars like me, and we're really tight and
Right.
we support one another. So knowing that they're putting their wine out, um, Amerigarba, lovely wine. Um, what is it? Young lady in Indianapolis. She is another
Mm,
Roots scholar. She has, and it's right there. It'll come back to me,
yeah.
but we're supportive of each other, and not just winemaking. I'm talking about, people that want to work behind the scenes, who work in other facets of the industry. The Roots Fund really has been really well with keeping us together. We have, monthly meetings and
Oh,
happy
wow.
hours, and we support one another,
Right.
and we come together and celebrate each other. And it's not like if you're not a part of the BIPOC, if you are a supporter of the BIPOC community, we celebrate you too. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? So I don't want anyone to think that, because I'm not this, I can't be. Yes, you can. As long as you're celebrating and helping and making a way and doing things that would promote people that don't normally have these opportunities, we're going to
Right.
celebrate it and share you too.
I
So
love
those are
that.
partners.
So what if there's someone that's like watching this? Because I know I enjoy wine. I actually have a whole wine refrigerator. Like I don't get to drink it as much as I, would like to. But when I get a break in my schedule, the first thing I kind of, put on my agenda is a glass of wine.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
and I know a lot of people, I mean, just drinking wine has become one of those things that I think women more so than men really enjoy.
Hmm.
So what would be a first step for somebody that might be interested? That's kind of like you, like, hey, I like drinking wine. I might even enjoy making wine. What would be
Hmm.
a first step that you would recommend?
I would recommend them to go to different wineries
Hmm.
and go to different wine festivals and talk to people who are already in the industry.
Ah,
Um, I I almost got discouraged because I went to a gentleman. He worked at the local wine liquor store up the street. And I told him about what I wanted to do. And he was like, I don't know why you want to do something like
Oh,
that.
wow.
Yeah. Because, you basically need to be connected. And this is something that it's not one of those things to kind of jump in,
Yeah.
and I remember that dialogue and I remember it. And at first I did leave feeling,
Yeah.
kind of like, wow, maybe he's right. Maybe I'm in over my head. And I didn't even share with him. I was kind of experimenting and doing things on my
Yeah.
own. And I'm glad that I didn't because I don't want to give my joy to somebody who's not going to see
Exactly.
it, you know.
Yeah.
So I went home and just kind of left it there and sat with it for a little while. And then something told me, bump that. I'm going to be friendly. I didn't say bump that.
Right.
I said something else. you know, you got a dream, go for it.
Exactly.
Keep going. Just because one person has an opinion about it does not mean everything stops there. Keep
Exactly.
going, keep talking, keep asking questions. Because I think it was Denzel Washington. He said something like, eventually, if you're in the barber shop long enough, you're gonna get a haircut.
I
So
love
I think
that.
about it like that. That's like a very simple statement, but it's like true.
Exactly.
If you keep doing and hanging around the same area and keep wondering and having those dialogues and stuff, something will happen.
Exactly.
You
I think
know?
that's great advice, especially, I mean, you said a couple of things. One is like going to different wine fests and wineries and talking to the people that's already engaged in it. But then also not to be discouraged either, because it is a process. Just like, going after any dream or any of your heart's desires, is the process there. So I love the fact that, you kind of heard it, but you didn't allow it to just stop you from
Mm-hmm.
moving forward. So what other kind of advice would you give someone?
I would suggest that they research different ways to get in. Because through
Mm.
my research, I found that there are 3 different ways that you can get in. You can be a multimillionaire, or be incredibly connected as an actor or actress or
Right.
athlete or someone who has that connection and name. Okay, that's the top tier. And then you have people who will buy grapes, or source grapes, what they call, and get a broker,
Hmm.
a great broker to actually find vineyards that will sell you bulk amounts of grape. And you'd have to get them shipped to a winery that will crush and ferment and store and filtrate and bottle the way you want.
Right.
Those are called custom crushes.
Okay.
So what
Wow.
a lot of people, those are very expensive though still.
Yeah.
If you look at a custom crush, I looked at 3 years ago to do probably about I want to say five, no, not five, about 25 gallons or so.
Wow.
It was in the thousands of dollars, like
Wow.
upward 25,000 or so.
Wow.
Yeah, because you're basically trusting this winery to make your wine.
Mm.
So you're basically you're hiring them as a ghost winemaker.
Right. Wow.
You're putting your label on them, but they're creating the wine itself. There are a lot of wineries who do that. They're called custom crush because if you pay them, they know how to do it. They may not necessarily want to do it completely for themselves, but that people will pay them to produce their wine for them, to your liking, and bottle and label and everything. But the key with that also is you got to have a distributor.
Ah.
That's a big challenge for people who are trying to do that, to get into distribution. So, and then the third would be where I came in. That's the third tier, where you're doing direct to consumer. So I've bypassed that 3-tier system because typically you would have the farmer or the grower selling to the wineries selling to the wholesale or distributors, the distributors selling to the retail, and the retail selling to the customer. So
Yeah.
there's a system set up. But with direct to consumer, you go directly from the grower to the consumer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So Naked Wines is one of the world's largest custom crush direct to consumer wineries. I think they're number 1 in the world, but number 7 in the United States.
Wow.
So they're different locations, different continents. So, but they're out of the UK originally.
Okay. So tell us about like your process. So once you got the scholarship, what was like what were the next steps?
So the next steps were for me to meet the people that would be mentoring me and helping me. And the sun is coming in nice.
Oh, if you need to adjust it, you're fine. If you
Okay. If it gets too much, I will.
Okay.
But so anyway, I had to meet my team and the people who would be mentoring me, the people who I would be working with in their administrative office. I flew out in May of 2021 to do that.
Okay.
I was there for about a week and a half, and we pretty much decided, these are the release dates. Yeah, I signed the contracts, and I had to make sure that everything was up to speed on my personal side with my business. And I met my grapes. I met my grape grower, a gentleman, Sonoma. He's a farmer, and you'll find a lot of people in this industry, they don't necessarily want to have a wine label. They just want to grow grapes. They want to farm. Wow. And they sell their grapes to these wineries,
Right.
And that's who I met. His name was Will. And basically, I had to go through tastings after tastings. I think I tasted about 30 different styles of Chardonnay.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was a heavy tasting period, and I knew I would be doing that. So I didn't do a lot of drinking prior to.
Right.
When I left, I think I was really like, Chardonnay who? But
so, I would imagine, I mean, especially like tasting 30 different wines, like you started really like zeroing in on like that specific taste that you were going for. Like, how did you, like, after drinking maybe the 5th bottle, how did you say, no, that's not it? Like, how do you make that decision?
Some wines have a very similar profile.
Okay.
And they're known for that. Some Chardonnays are extremely buttery, some are moderately buttery, and some are very light. And some have a very sharp crispness, a very acidic tightness to it, depending on the style. California Chardonnays are known to be very bold, buttery, creamy notes, with that malolactic feel to it from that secondary fermentation. I knew for myself at that time, I was drinking at home. I was drinking Kendall Jackson Vintner's Reserve, and one of my mentors is like, if you want to try some different things, try like Kistler or try Stag's Leap, or try some things that may be a little bit more pricey, but it may take you in a different direction. And I was so grateful that he made that suggestion, because it gave me a different flavor that I was trying to capture. I didn't want to be Kistler. I didn't want to be Kendall Jackson. I just want to be Kyle. But I know what I like, and I know what wine lovers might want to try, and hence I asked Naked Wines, can I do 2 styles of Chardonnay? I don't want to do just one. I'd like to do 2, because, I think I can hit two different demographics.
Right.
So, and that's how that came. So when you go to these tastings, they're all lined up, and you definitely have to spit.
Right.
You
can't
cannot
drink
sit
it.
there
Right.
and sip and actually swallow all of that, because you will not be able to differentiate. And there's a lot of water and, a lot of things kind of like clear your palate.
Exactly.
But definitely there was a lot of comparisons, and when I picked it, I was like, oh yeah, this right here.
And it probably like just really subtle differences, no?
Very, very subtle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we went on different winery trips. I think we went to Farniente. They have some of the most beautiful Chardonnay in the world, in my opinion. We went to Stag's Leap with the apostrophe S. I didn't do the other Stag's Leap. We went to Garrigage, and they have a really nice selection. But these are like some of the top Chardonnay makers in California. So we were able to really like talk to some of the best winemakers in the world. And they took me in, and, they didn't give me, I mean, with winemaking, there's no secret to it, and it's not like, oh, this is my recipe over here. And,
right.
It is what it is.
Right.
This is what I do. And, this is the style of barrels that I use. This is what I use over here. And, they were very embracing,
Right. Wow. Now you said you wanted to do two different Chardonnays. Did you do so the one I got is what it just says Chardonnay Sonoma Valley 2021. Right. And I'm going to sit it here so that people can see it.
Okay.
Give it that.
Yeah.
There we go.
So that's the tank ferment. It did receive some light barreling that's neutral just for the oxygen.
Okay.
I didn't want to give it too much of a buttery taste. The other has not been released yet. It'll be released in September.
Oh, awesome.
That will be the oaked Chardonnay. And that's more of the traditional style of Chardonnay that people have grown to love with the Californian style.
Oh,
so but
that is so exciting.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited. I am.
Wow. So so you have the next one coming out in September. So what are your plans, or what's next? Like, do you go back and now do maybe a red wine, or do you have aspirations to do something else still in this kind of wine and spirit industry, or?
No, not right now. I'm a believer of really honing in and specializing on one thing and really learning all of the nuances of that and figuring out what works and what doesn't work. For the next couple of years, I'm going to stick to Chardonnay and be known as the Chardonnay lady.
Right.
And, I really would like to just learn and respect the Chardonnay grape. Maybe down the road, I could see, hopefully like a sparkling, because a lot of the sparkling wines are made of Chardonnay or Pinot Noir or Meunier. But I'm not right now. I'm still a baby.
Yeah, no, that's exciting.
Yeah, it is. And I really want to pay respect to the process.
I guess just like you said, just respect the process. And speaking of the process, like how often would you be able to put out like new bottles? Can you do it annually or?
Mm-hmm. So next year I will be, I'm grateful to say that I'm coming back to Naked. I've already, signed my contract with them. So we will have a 22 vintage release next year.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So, and is that wine like in a process now, or those grapes in a process now?
The grapes are still on the vine.
Oh.
Mother Nature, God, thank you. Keep the grapes safe. I have a new grower, but from what I understand, the quality of grape maybe even a little bit better. I was happy with what I had.
Right.
So that's a blessing too. So we'll see. It's still in Sonoma, but not at the same with the same grower that I use. He went somewhere else. So
Okay. Then did you want to adjust your blinds?
let me try that. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nope, you're
hold on
fine.
1 second. No, it's gonna work. All right, let's see if this works. I'm still okay.
Yeah,
That's a
that
little
looks better.
bit better.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Thank
So
you.
yeah, absolutely. Well, Kyle, I have to tell you, I am so encouraged and inspired by you. I love when I can just like, meet somebody and they're so genuine and just so sweet spirited. And then to see you kind of just branch off and do something that's so incredible that, you don't get to see many people do. Like real people, we all drink wine, but how many of us actually know a winemaker, right? So so I'm so
Oh,
inspired by you. And I would imagine a lot of other people will be. Like that's one of my favorite things. One is meeting people, having great conversations with people, because there's so much to learn from one
hmm
another. And like I said, I knew you as an artist, but I had no
hmm
idea that you had, these aspirations to be a winemaker, and then for you to, fulfill that dream in such an
hmm
amazing way, is incredible. But I know it hasn't been easy.
No, here's the thing. Like I said, I hadn't even thought about it myself. I just love
Right.
drinking it, and I loved also leading wine tastings with my friends and people that would hire me to do paint wine,
Sipping
sipping
paints. Yeah.
paint. Right. So I was doing that, and that was a lot of fun. They got a little bit lengthy, when you're talking about both. Uh,
Right.
but a friend of mine out of DC turned me on to that. I really did not think about winemaking until my husband suggested it in a
Wow.
playful way, in a very playful way. But I do believe that God speaks to you through messaging, through,
Exactly.
the most, unsuspecting message. Listen up, because
Exactly.
when those messages come and you light up and you feel something, you're supposed to be doing that. So,
Exactly. There's
uh,
two things to that. I know there's a quote, I think it's by Maya Angelou, and she says that your grandest dreams are all within your reach. If it were not so, God wouldn't have put the desire so deeply in your soul. So it's like that thing where you're just constantly drawn to whatever that thing
mhm,
is. And then
mhm.
I also I adopted this thing that I've been doing for the past several months, which I call is like following the breadcrumbs.
Right.
Because if you're really just listening, um, and just like I think flowing with your life as
Mhm.
opposed to trying to create your life, which
Right.
is interesting, especially as a creative. I know that when I just sit in front of a blank canvas and just allow myself to just go, it always comes out so much better than when I say, "Oh, I want to draw this," and I
Right.
try to create it. And so I'm
Right.
learning, to apply that same kind of philosophy to my life.
Oh, yeah.
And it's amazing, how much how naturally things flow, and
Mhm.
you meet the right people who can connect you to the next right person, that can connect you to the next right person. And I'm sure yeah, I'm sure you have
Kwanza,
that
let me tell you,
experience.
that's one of
Yes.
my mantras. I always say I'm in the right place at the right time, talking to the right people, doing the right thing.
Exactly.
That's
Yes.
one of my mantras. So you basically have that bell just went off. So
Yeah.
yeah, that is that part of that prana, that flow, where it is uninterrupted, it is easy,
Exactly.
the synergy is there, and the doors open, and you wonder, oh my God, how this happened.
Right.
It was supposed to happen.
Exactly.
It was
And I
supposed to happen.
exactly, Kai. I wish so many more people knew that and understood that. Because I find I see a lot of people that seems like they're just struggling to get to whatever they think that next is. But I think a couple of things. One is just following your natural rhythm. and not trying to do what other people are doing. That's why I appreciate what you're doing so much, because it is for our community. I think it is something so extraordinary that you just don't see a lot of people doing, and
Mm-hmm.
you're kind of, for me, a real live example of stepping into a whole different industry and creating space, or taking up space, not even creating space, but taking up space in such a powerful way. And so I was like, I absolutely, hands down, would have to support you. So I was, looking in,
Thank you.
as soon as you sent that link out, I was all over it. So it has been, it's just been an honor, honestly, just watching you from, the distance and just watching the process. And that's why I was glad that you accepted my invitation to come on, because I was like, I want people to understand the process,
Oh, yeah.
and how they can apply even that, I guess, that mindset to
Mm-hmm.
any process, like the
Mm-hmm.
mindset of not being discouraged, the mindset of really doing your research and your homework,
Right.
the mindset of like being prepared.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you, I've been talking to a lot of people, because I'm kind of shifting from one industry into another, which is why I think I'm so encouraged too by this conversation, is
Right.
because it's a reminder, no, just keep moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
But I was talking with this one young lady, and she was like, well, how do you just like talk to people? And I'm like, I think it is important to make those connections, because you just never know where it's going to go.
No.
And I just want to encourage people to continue to do the research in the areas that you're interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Connect with the people. Don't be afraid to talk to people and say, hey, I don't know. What can you tell me? And, you know,
Everybody, I said this the other day, everyone starts with a don't know. I don't know.
yeah,
And even the people who are the top in their field, they started out, we all started with the same
exactly.
blank canvas, you know.
Exactly.
So that was one thing I had to keep reminding myself, that when you get into these circles and to these small group conversations with these experienced people that are in your industry, take it in. It
Yeah.
can be discouraged, it can not discourage you, it can be a little overwhelming,
Intimidating.
intimidating. That's what I was
Yeah.
looking for. It, especially when I was coming in and speaking on scientific terms. Um, that part was a lot for me to grasp, and it still is, but it's okay with me now, because I like to write stuff, and
Right.
I will sit there. If I don't know the answer, I will write it down, and I will go back and research it. So my next conversation, I'll be able to dialogue about it, and I'll be
Exactly.
able to ask more specific questions about it and feel more confident, and know that that's a part of the process. They had to do it
Exactly.
too.
Exactly.
So
So let's talk history making a little bit. I don't know if you did looked at this, but how many Black women
mhm.
have their name on a bottle of wine?
Well, there are quite a few now,
Really?
but still
Still
less,
very small. Yeah.
very still less than I want to say 1% industry wide. At Naked Wines, Carmen Stevens,
Mm.
she is a South African winemaker. She has she's been with Naked. I want to say 5 or 6 years or so.
Wow.
But her wine is sold here in the United States, so I'm in her footsteps
Wow.
as a winemaker. But she's the I guess pioneering woman of color
Wow.
with Naked Wines here in the United States. So I'm happy to say that I'm following behind her, and I would say for me, I'm the first African American based here
Wow.
to do that. But there are Latina women who are doing it. But you have the pioneers like Iris Rideau out of Louisiana.
Wow.
I think she was out of Louisiana. She has a book out. I'm gonna have to get her book. And of course, Theodora Lee. She's out of California, Theopolis.
Wow.
Um, the McBride sisters, of course, they're like huge.
Right.
Um, And I'm still, as I'm sitting here, I want to, and I cannot remember. She has 7. Manifest is one of her wines. She has 7 different wines out of Indianapolis. You can Google her, look her up. She's one of the Roots Fund scholars, as I am. I said Amerigarba. She has lovely wine.
Wow.
Who else? Oh, Philosophy. That's out here out of Maryland.
Okay, I've seen
They're the
that.
first African American women here in Maryland who were licensed in Stans,
Wow.
Maryland. Philosophy. 2 women. And
Wow.
so you can look them up. You could look up Heritage. Heritage is out of North Carolina. No, not Heritage. I think it's Heritage. Heritage. Forgive me.
No,
But
no, no.
yeah, you can look her up. Who else? Her Rawlings. I want to say that's her last name. She's also a Roots Fund scholar.
Wow.
But it's a growing pot. You've got out of New Orleans. She was just in Essence.
Wow.
Latest Essence. There's a young lady who has a winery in New Orleans, Orleans. I think it's called Orleans. And then you got Jenny Dawn out of Kansas City.
Oh, wow. So it's way more than I expected, but I think still like just being a part of that 1% is so phenomenal. And I don't know, I just pray such great things for you. And just pray that when you're in those circles and rubbing elbows with all these phenomenal women in that 1%, that you know that you belong there and that you are taking up the space that is, reserved for you. Because you're such an inspiration. And and on all complete honesty, I would not have missed the opportunity to get your wine as soon as I heard that it came out. And I can't wait for your next round to come out in September. I will be all over that as well. And just here to support whatever you do. I'm just super proud of you and happy to know you and glad to call you a friend.
Yes, thank you. Yes, Kwanza. I'm following. I started looking at your journaling of your journey towards your PhD. So congratulations.
Yes. But again, that 1% club, looking for those areas where you could become a part of that 1%. So I'm a fan of that. So what kind of advice, I know time always goes by way too quickly, but what kind of advice would you give to someone, maybe not even interested in going into the wine making industry, but just anybody that may be looking at this and just feel like, I don't know that I have what it takes to do that, whatever that is.
Well, something is coming to you naturally.
Yeah.
Listen to it and be obedient to that message. Because usually it's your higher self, your God self speaking to you. I would also, it's hard not to be discouraged because there will be discouraging moments. I shared earlier. And I completely forgot about that moment until now. And that's the testimony to God because I was reminded of that glaring, no, you're not going to do well. You won't, and you actually do need those. You need those because if everyone says yes, then when you get to that no, you won't know how to handle it.
Right.
So you need the rejection to build that character and to build the desire and the focus that you really have to have in order to be successful in any industry. Anybody could say, oh, I want to be a doctor, or I want to be a winemaker, or I want to be an artist, or, whatever it is. But when you go through those mountain valleys and the peaks and the tops, and you keep going through those cycles, it really does give testimony to a journey that's well worth it, and you're producing a product that is so profound and so qualified, and just there's nothing like a piece of art that you can just sit back and come to day after day and say, we did that.
Exactly.
Me and God, we did that. We worked through this. It was hard. And we did it. And
Exactly.
it's great to have it and to pass it on and show it to the next person, to give it to the next young lady or young man so that they can do
Exactly.
it. So
Exactly. So I have to ask one last question. What was it like when you held your first bottle, like label and everything, ready to go? What was that moment like?
girl, I was crying. I was out in California.
Oh,
I was crying, and my husband had come out. He hadn't come out there that day, but he was on his way out there. I was in tears because they were like, "Oh, Kyle, your labels came in, and they're in there if you want." And I'm like, "My labels?" They're like, "Oh yeah, your bottles are over there," and I'm like, "Really?" And I'm looking, and it's like this massive
right.
wall of boxes everywhere, and then Jorge grabbed a bottle. Just he was like, "Well, where do you want to place it?" They're so nonchalant about it because that's what they do all the
Right.
time. They had no idea, and Frank, he's another winemaker, Frank Dusak of Naked. He's like, "I get it." I forgot what country he's from. He's like, "I get it, Kyle. I get it." I'm like,
Wow.
I'm getting so emotional right now looking at this. You don't understand. He's like, "No, I do understand. Get it."
Yeah.
So
Ah,
yeah.
no. Well, and the beautiful thing is that it will forever exist. Kind of set it up here.
Thank
But the
you.
beautiful thing is that it's here, it exists, it will forever exist. You created something that, that's tangible, which is
Right.
beautiful. So, congratulations
Thank
again.
you. Thank
Here's
you.
to many more wines. Here's to
Cheers.
many more years of success, and may this experience be everything that your heart desires, but more than that, everything that God has purposed it to be. May you
Thank you.
reach every level
Yes.
of potential. So
Thank
blessings
you.
to you and cheers.
Blessings to you too. Cheers.
Yes. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you guys for joining us for this wonderful conversation. Prayerfully, you guys got something out of it. I know I
Yeah.
did. I am so inspired, and hopefully, you guys are as well. Kyle, thank you again for joining us. And until next time, blessings, guys.
Blessings. Thank you.